Future Durban is clearly on the rise and on the move. Some of us were at the first meeting that was held above a restaurant on Florida Road a few months ago. The crowd is much bigger. We're closer to the city centre, so congratulations those of you who don't normally come into the city centre. Well done for getting this far. But we hope that we'll draw you even further to the city centre if I can presume to offer the Dennis Hurley Centre as the location of the next meeting. We have plenty of space. We can certainly take up to 300 people in our main hall. I'm just filling in so the pictures appear. And also to invite you to come to a part of the city that many people tell me has been abandoned. In fact, when I go out speaking at churches around the city, people say, "Oh, you work there, but nobody goes there." And I have to explain, well, actually, 500,000 people walk past our front door every day. It may be that nobody that they know who lives in Musgrave or Morningside or Mhlanga comes to that part of the city. But it is fantastic, interesting, vibrant part of the city. So I guess that's why I'm talking about the humanity of public art. And I want to use just three examples of three experiences we've had of the use of art in our centre over the last couple of years. We've only been in place for 2 years, and to give perhaps three themes that are worth thinking about in the context of public art. So our building is there, nestled between the Grey Street Mosque and Emmanuel Cathedral, two of the greatest buildings, two of the oldest buildings, two of the finest buildings in Durban city centre. It struck me when I was looking at pictures that, as well as being close to there, of course we're very close to the graveyard. And if you really want to see some really fine public art in Durban, then I dare you, that may be a dare too far, to walk around the graveyard and admire some of those extraordinary Muslim and Jewish and Christian headstones that you will find there. We have next to our building, this was taken before the building was finished, there is an open street area. On the very oldest maps it's called Cemetery Lane, because that's where the coffins came out of the mosque and the cathedral to go to the old cemetery. And I'm delighted, if I can recognise the presence of Nina here, the municipality has spent money to refurbish that, and we are now that close to being able to reopen the area, and part of our intention is for it to be a place of public art. But in that space we have people gathering, citizens of Durban. They happen to be homeless citizens, but that doesn't make them any less citizens, it doesn't make them any less deserving of our respect, any less deserving of dignity, nor does it make them any less able to appreciate and respond to art. And part of what makes the Dennis Hurley Centre an interesting place to engage with art is that we have coming into our centre hundreds of some of the people who perhaps aren't normally thought of as consumers of art. Homeless people, refugees, drug users, some of the poorest people in the city. They're pouring through our building and in the streets around our building. So the question we're always asking is, how do we engage with those people artistically? It's important to feed them, it's important to provide healthcare and medicines and training programs, and we do all of that. But if I can quote a bit of scripture, the foundation stone of the building has that quote from John 10:10. It says, "Life to the full." So we're not just interested in feeding people and keeping them healthy, but importantly, giving them the richness of life that art can provide. So clearly one way of doing that is street art. That's a very obvious, very easy way of doing it. But one of the criteria I'd like you to think about in the context of public art is not just to give people what they expect, but to give people what they don't expect and see how they respond. So we thought, what would happen if in this beautiful city we take members of the finest orchestra in Africa and have them play some of the finest music ever written. So a trio of orchestral performers came one Sunday afternoon to start playing Bach trios to our homeless guys as they were waiting for lunch. The response was extraordinary. I've never been able to get homeless people to keep quiet and listen to me, but my goodness, they listened to the Bach. It was absolutely stunning. And what was so wonderful and so profound is there was no sense in which people felt they were being patronised or they were being fed morsels from the rich man's table, but rather they were being given access to the same quality of art that everyone deserves. So the first criterion I'd ask you to think about is quality. Secondly, content. We work a lot with drug users. A lot of the homeless people who come to us, not all, I should stress, but a lot of the homeless people who come to us are drug users. A lot of the people whom we help in our clinic or in the outreach healthcare work that we do are drug users. For example, in this area around Albert Park. And interesting that even in that context, it seems that art is trying to force its way through the walls. So, in the context of quality, if you're doing dramatic arts in the city, there can be no one better to work with than the award-winning Neil Coppen. So when Neil came to us and said he wanted a rehearsal space because he was creating a play about drug users, we said, well, we not only have rehearsal space, but we've got drug users, quite a lot of them. And that's what Neil and his team did. Neil and the Big Brotherhood Theatre Group moved into the building for 6 months. They built trust and friendship with the homeless guys, and they learned their stories. They listened to them tell their stories, and the stories that they heard, and the stories they also heard from some of the police officers dealing with the drugs epidemic in the city, was turned into Ulwembu, a powerful, powerful play about the role of drugs in the city, how easily people get sucked into it, and the frustration of parents and families when faced with that. Performed, first of all, in the Dennis Hurley Centre to the people whose stories were represented, then performed at the Playhouse, now touring around the country, and just last week